Just about 24 hours ago, the report of the death of former South African President Frederik Willem De Klerk came in. He was aged 85. FW De Klerk, as he was popularly called, was the last president of apartheid South Africa and a key actor in the country's transition to democracy. He was head of state between September 1989 and May 1994. In 1990, he announced he was releasing anti-apartheid leader Nelson Mandela, leading to multi-party polls in 1994. The FW De Klerk Foundation in a statement says the former leader died in his home following his battle against cancer. He was diagnosed of the ailment earlier this year. And joining me now to discuss the life and times of the former South African leader is a global affairs analyst, Kunle Falowo. Good to have you join us.
Thanks for having me.
This is a very controversial personality. There are different sides to his story. On one hand, he's seen as the man who moved South Africa from the apartheid era into democracy. But on the other hand, because of the comments that he made supporting an apartheid and saying that it wasn't really a crime against humanity, he's very controversial. Talk to us about what you think his impact on the political landscape in South Africa was.
Well, like you rightly mentioned,
Kunle Falowo, if you can hear me, we do not have audio from you at this moment. I don't know if you're muted. If you can just unmute yourself and then continue.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes, I can hear you now. Please go ahead.
Okay, so De Klerk was a formidable force in the South African polity. He was one of the major forces that, like you rightly said, was able to transfer power from the minority white group to the majority black South Africans. Depending on who you're asking in South Africa, he has a very polarized character. He's a statesman because he had won alongside Nelson Mandela the Nobel Peace Prize in, I think, somewhere in 1993 for being able to successfully hold, being able to free Mandela and being able to dismantle the same power and the same forces that put him in the power in the first place. So he relinquished power to the black people of South Africa, who was in the majority at that time. Having said that, he was not forthcoming with the atrocities that was committed during the times of the apartheid, which he was the president at that time. Before his death, he had granted an interview and he had not recognized the fact that apartheid caused a lot of harm and hurt a lot of people, especially the brown and black people of South Africa. Now, for the simple fact that he had not acknowledged what apartheid had done to the psychological minds of people, especially the black people, who was the majority in South Africa, that is a very big question mark on his entire reputation. He was a force to reckon with, because at a particular moment in the trajectory of the South African polity, he didn't have any other choice than to relinquish power. And then he, among other things that he had done, granted freedom to Nelson Mandela, who was in jail at that time, on board the African National Congress, who floated Nelson Mandela as the flag bearer to become the president, and he won. So these are the things that it's quite questionable. He had some minor successes for the things he had done, but again, it's got some question mark in his entire political career.
And for those who focus on these comments, because even just as early as 2 years ago, he still continued to say, he refused to even call it apartheid. He still continued to say that, look, this is not a crime against humanity. For those who are holding on to that, he did release a recorded speech to the South African people. That was his last message to the people. I don't know if you saw that clip where he apologized, calling apartheid wrong and morally unjustifiable. Does that do anything for the record he has set before then?
Well, some people will say that for a dying man, which is kind of hurtful to say, but it must be told. Some people would believe that for a dying man, he is kind of like reminiscent of the past and he wanted to right all the wrongs in past history. But is that enough to, is that really enough? Is that enough to right all the wrong that has been done in the past? Again, that's the question that we need to ask ourselves as Black people, and particularly, let's ask the people of South Africa, the Black people of South Africa, will they be able to forgive what he has done in the past? But moving on, we've learned that this man, in the long run, apologized for some of the things that he had perpetrated alongside the minority white people, who, by the way, came from another parts of the world, which is another topic for another day, because they're not legitimate South Africans. The white people that came through to South Africa and kind of like established their territory over there, making them a small minority. But with time, they started procreation, and they were multiplying. By effect, they had the power, they had the manpower, and they had the political power to do stuff, and they took over South Africa. But on the long run, looking back at the history of what's had happened in the past, we would say that it's a lesson for all the African leaders to always check our backs and make sure that we do the right things, so we don't
absolutely. I think that
begging for forgiveness.
I think that it is important to be conscious and cautious of the history you're setting, even as a leader in whatever sphere. Thank you so much for your thoughts, as always. Global Affairs Analyst Kunle Falowo.
Pleasure.